Node, and today we have Cozy from Axal with Graph Builders Office Hours. Welcome, everyone. How's it going, Paolo, Christian, Addie? How's it going, Jimmy? Welcome to the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat at any time. And with that being said, Cozy, how you doing, man? Welcome to the Graph Builders Office Hours. How you doing today? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good man, Marcus. Thank you for taking the time to have me to represent Axel. We're obviously fans of the graph. We're using you guys. Yeah, no, I mean I can start with my crypto story. I don't know how the normal flow is for this stuff, but
We hang out, we have a good time. This is the normal flow. If you feel it's normal, it's normal.
ah, safe space.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean I have a pretty interesting story. I first bought crypto in like the vague broad sense in 2017. I was in school. I saw Litecoin. There was Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they were going up. And I was like, there are three assets on Coinbase. I think Litecoin will probably go up too. So I bought Litecoin, and it went up a ton. And I was like, fuck, I can make a lot of money in college. And then I realized, maybe I should have gone all in on crypto, and I didn't. And I think I did some rough calculation where if I had actually went all in the way I wanted to, I would have made a ton of money, but didn't, didn't end up
Which
doing
can
that. Stayed
happen,
in
you know.
school. Yeah, stayed in school, which was fine. I think in hindsight, we have an intern who took a year off from Harvard actually to join our team, which is sick. And I'm
Yeah.
like, fuck, I should have done something like that, but I didn't have the guts to make that leap of faith when I was in school. But when I was in school, I think a really interesting thing that happened was my senior year was COVID. So I didn't have a
Mm.
job. It was senior year. It was COVID. I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? It seems like there's going to be this big recession or whatever. So that's when I started a YouTube channel. And in the
Nice.
YouTube channel, I kind of just cold emailed a bunch of people. Like I emailed every billionaire whose email I could find. I got 1% of them to come on the podcast. The most interesting was John McAfee. So
Oh, cool.
I had his last interview before he got arrested. It was kind of wild.
Wow. That's
Very weird.
that's
Yeah.
very interesting to have that feather in your cap on that one. Wow.
Yep. Yeah. And I have my cap that I am wearing. But yeah, no, it was a very weird one. I think and I built a lot of friends in crypto. I think crypto is one of those spaces where people are just down to talk. It's a very it's a libertarian kind of people are just kind of curious to spread the evangelism of it, right? So I think it
Yeah.
was really cool. So I met a lot of really fascinating people through crypto and through the podcast. Sadly, I put that away and I just went to the real world and I got a normal job and then I became a reporter. I actually was, while I was at my normal job, just buying Bitcoin on the side. I
Yeah.
eventually got enough Bitcoin that I sold it all in 2021, right before the crash.
Ah,
Took a year off, kind of just did whatever. Started writing for Bitcoin Magazine, started writing for CoinDesk, and then eventually landed a full time thing at Insider. Covered crypto at Insider for a while. There, I had a pretty cool interview with Jack Mallers. I tried getting Mallers to debate Sam Bankman-Fried before the fall. I think that would have been a fun little back and forth, kind of
yep.
like a 50 Cent versus a Kanye, if you guys remember that rivalry. There was a big
Yes.
rap rivalry in the
Yep.
2000s. Yep.
Yep.
And yeah, and then once again put crypto away, crashed. I was like, oh, I don't know if I can make a living in this. Then went to TradFi, worked in TradFi for a couple of years, and joined Axel in
Cool.
October of last year. So it's
Cool.
been 8 months that I've finally started working full time in crypto. Maybe
Mm.
that was a bit of a long preamble, but yeah, I joined Axel. Really great team. We've been moving fast. Obviously, very excited to talk about what we're building, but that's kind of my crypto story.
Yeah, very cool. It's interesting. I've met so many people who've had an interesting story into crypto. People in our generation weren't born with this tech. We didn't have it. So naturally, we can't have just landed there and known we were going to do this from birth. It wasn't even around when many of us were born. So I've met physicians, lawyers. I'm a former doctor of physical therapy. I've met marketing professionals. I've met communications in the sporting world professionals. They actually worked for ESPN and now they're in crypto. So, I mean, that's just the nature of this industry. So, it's good to have you here. I think it brings interesting people from all over in so many different backgrounds. So it's exciting to have you here. And I'm curious about yield, particularly. I mean, we talked a little bit off stage. And this audience, hi everyone, welcome to Builders Office Hours. For the most part, is technical audience, and so a lot of them are building all the time. I'm curious how many of them have been getting into yield and understanding that along with building. Could you kind of give an introduction to what yield is exactly before we dive into what you're working on?
Yeah, so high level yield is kind of like an interest that's available in crypto. I'm sure if you guys are building in crypto, you're definitely very aware of it. I think it's a fascinating thing with the world of crypto because you have a risk-free rate in the real world, right? So you have your interest rate that you get from your bank that's like probably zero, essentially zero. In Japan, it's actually negative. It's kind of like this big clown on number. Especially when you consider the fact that inflation is like really pronounced. So you have essentially like they're printing more money, which devalues your money, while you're not able to, the money that you park, like back in the day, they used to say like like that metaphor or like example or story of like the grandma who puts her money in her like mattress or whatever, and she's the smartest person because she's not trying to be crazy or risky. Well, I mean, in the world we live in, like even if you look at like I think I saw something like there's been like a dollar is devalued 20% since 2019, just
Mm,
because of all the COVID inflation. So
mhm,
that is not a smart idea to just put your money in a mattress. Even though I think a lot of people, thought that maybe way back. It's like one of these like Benjamin Franklin, old Poor Richard's Almanac type, advices. I think now that we've gotten to this point, it's like everyone knows that you need to put your money to work. I think that's why
mhm,
most of the people in this audience, obviously the Axel team, everyone feels like you got to put your money to work in some capacity. So what does that actually mean? So if you're looking at it like a bank, gives interest. You deposit money, they give loans to people, and then they pay you for the right to hold your money. They keep it safe. That's obviously a useful thing, especially in the world of crypto where there's a lot of exploits or hacks or whatever. But banks keep your money safe. They put your money to work, and then they pocket the difference, and then they pay you a certain percentage for doing that. Now, obviously, that percentage, as I mentioned, was pretty low. Like it's comparatively low, and in Japan, it's actually negative. So this is where the concept of just earning money on your money like kind of comes in. So people say put your money in the market, but then obviously stocks are not guaranteed ways to go up. Crypto is adjacent to this. Like obviously crypto is not guaranteed to go up, but there's been no other asset except Bitcoin that's outperformed the S&P. So it's not a bad bet in the long run, but
mhm,
obviously there's no guarantee Bitcoin goes up. But there are these things called T-bills. So T-bills are pretty much U.S. guaranteed bonds by the government. So like obviously maybe people in crypto are not as bullish on trusting the government, but high level if you put your money in T-bills and you commit to it for a period of time, you will earn 4% in an annualized basis on that money you put in, which is a
mhm,
lot of money if you talk about like $10 million, $20 million, whatever. You can earn a good chunk of change from that. So that's what we call the risk-free rate in the real world. It's these T-bills. In
mhm,
crypto, we, at Axel have a phrase where there's a crypto risk-free rate. So if you go into, these different protocols like Aave and Morpho, which I'm sure your viewers know, and
mhm,
maybe I'm being a bit redundant, but Aave and Morpho and these super liquid, smart contract-based protocols have, yield. They offer yield. It's pretty much the same thing as interest, and they're doing the same thing banks do. Essentially, you deposit your money, and they put it to work. They like give loans. They, think of ways to return, get you a return. But high level, it's similar to how a bank operates. You put your money in, and they put it to work. Because crypto is such a nascent and growing industry, um, that money, the risk-free rate in crypto, or the money that you could just get by parking in Aave and Morpho and these super liquid protocols is, you know, our back testing is 68%. So the cool thing about this is that's the crypto risk-free rate. What Axel does is it constantly rebalances between Aave, Morpho on the conservative strat to make sure that you're always earning above that 4% you would get from T-bills. Another thing that's key here is we're totally non-custodial. So obviously, people in crypto have a bit of anxiety when it comes to people who offer yield. I
Mm-hmm.
think this is for good reason. Like, obviously Celsius is a big Bitcoin yield program from way
Yep.
back.
Yep.
Uh, they kind of screwed everyone. They just took the
Yeah.
deposits and acted like it was their own money. So there's a bit of anxiety there. But what we're, with Axel and what we're building is a totally non-custodial approach to yield. So it's using DeFi protocols that allow for, the user to feel that they're never actually putting their money in a platform. No FTX thing can happen.
Right.
Yeah,
I think I will, at least I hope, I mean, we will repeat our mistakes. It's just nature of humans, and there will be another centralized issue. That's what happens. But for those who have been here long enough, will know that self-custody is the way to go. And anytime anyone gets into the crypto space, I'm always explain as much as I can the difference between custodial, non-custodial, and really the history. Because if you don't understand the history, you don't feel that history.
yeah.
You're like, well, why not do centralized? Why not? And that's essentially what might be happening again in the next few years, because we're getting a whole new bunch of users on. Why wouldn't you go centralized? Way simpler. So I mean, and the wheel turns on. But anyways, so with yield, there's a few different players in the yield space. And what are a few of the things that you've learned, like personally, not necessarily with Axel, but like when you are looking for yield, what are some things that you look for personally, regardless of the platform, be it Axel or anybody? Is it something that you're like, hey, this is a good thing and this is a fishy thing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think the thing that we like at Axel, and maybe I'm being a little, like self-promotional here. I think what we like about it is there are, as you mentioned, a ton of play. Like it's not a novel idea at all, right?
Sure.
I think what's really interesting on our end is we're constantly rebalancing you between Aave and Morpho on the conservative end.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have three risk profiles. We have conservative, balanced, and aggressive. Balanced, we get into some kind of, some Solana, some Hyperliquid, some Felix. Then for aggressive, we get into, a lot of like the more aggressive strats. As anyone, who's been in crypto and traded and looked at some of these yield numbers, they get crazy, like 200% APY. It is a video thing.
And I'm suspicious. If I see that number, I don't even touch it. Like it's like,
What
is that a reasonable strategy for me to be like anything above 40%? I'm like,
Yeah.
no way, no way.
To put it in perspective, I think Warren Buffett's like annualized return at Berkshire is like 10%. So like if you compare this to like the TradFi world, like that is the king of Wall Street. That is
Hmm.
the, I don't know what the right word is, but that guy's the king of Wall Street. He hit 10%. So the fact I don't even think it was 10. I think it was like slightly under. So like the idea that you could get above 10% is a little crazy annualized.
Yep.
Um, I think so. This
So
is
my
where,
BS detector is pretty good there. If it's at
of course,
40%,
yeah.
good.
Yeah, and I remember Terra Luna, if you remember the crash from way back,
Yeah.
that was about like they were doing a 20% staking,
Yep.
through
Yeah.
their protocol, for their
Yeah.
stable coin. I forgot honestly the name of it, but I think it was US. It was like UST, I think. Yeah, and anyway, so long story short, yeah, these numbers are crazy. So, and
Mhm.
that's why there's three risk profiles. The big thing on our end is totally non-custodial, so you can cash out whenever. And when it comes to balanced and aggressive, so balanced we're aiming to get 10 to 25%, and aggressive we're trying to get like 40% plus.
Mhm.
Um, one we label that there is a higher risk if you go into balanced or aggressive. Obviously, aggressive is the highest risk. The thing with aggressive though, and with balance, is we kind of do automations on our end to monitor the pools that you get into. So in the case of Terra Luna, right, that would be probably in our medium strat. We would constantly be watching it to see, oh, did a whale pull out? Did the stablecoin depeg? Did the API crash that it's using? There's
And
tons of
how do you
heuristics.
how do you monitor these things? Is this through how do you check
So,
these things?
so down the line. This is a phrase agents that is we are in that space. It is
Nice.
agents are rough in the real world of tech, let alone the world of crypto.
Yeah.
So I'll give the high picture of what Axel hopes to be, and then I'll explain what it is today.
Sure.
Down the line, we think that AI will be probably the right way to do this, where you have, like a swarm of agents that are all competing, that are all monitoring these
Mm-hmm.
pool, like these sources of yield, and constantly like monitoring these pools for you based off of your set parameters. And
Mm-hmm.
we use smart wallets to help us like actually engage with that. We use the graph for up to date price feeds. That is how you can kind of do a lot of these heuristics of like, oh, did like just monitoring like the actual crypto ecosystem. That all kind of stems from you guys actually.
Just
Like,
curious for the audience, which subgraphs and/or substreams are you using for your build, or do you know are you using your
I'll
own
have to
build?
ask our dev. So
Let
I'm
me go
the
look it
growth.
up on Explorer. I'll share with the audience here real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah, please do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead and keep on talking though. I'm curious.
Um, yeah, no, no. So, and also, I will say, like, only our conservative strat is live, so we are still pretty much in production, and our balance strat is actually live now, but it's token gated, or it's just gated. So we're doing a slow drip release for that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, down the line, and I'd love to talk more about the graph, but down the line, it's going to be AI. Right now, we're doing a lot of these automations in house, and we're building it ourselves.
Hmm.
So we're essentially hard coding these strategies ourselves.
Hmm.
That's why, like, I mean, like, to be super candid, I think down the line, where is Axel? Like, Axel is like, okay, you can get this like 100% APY, and maybe you'll be able to get that for 3 days. And the goal is that, you will be one of the first people who gets out through like in an audit through AI or whatever. Odds
Right.
are like that reality is, if that ever happens, it is one of these things. But that's why you obviously are taking risk.
Yeah.
The goal is though for people to have more security when exposure to crazy yield, which is like
Yeah.
also like I'd love to have more exposure to a lottery if I had better chances of winning. That is,
100%.
yeah,
I feel, and I've talked with probably at least 5 people on office hours and at least 30, 40 people personally. The race to agentic and trustworthy transactions done effectively, done in a way that when there's an inevitable rug where and non-malicious, I mean, this is
yeah, yeah.
literally the market is the
That's the
market.
game.
So regardless if the AI does it or I just drop it into the S&P 500, it
Yeah,
might drop 10%, it might, or there might be for whatever exchange, there might be a 20%, 30% drop. It's just the market.
yeah.
When it's an agent controlling it, that's going to be that's a frontier that we are going to see in the next X amount of months. I don't think it's going to be years.
I don't know about the months.
I mean,
Like,
I'm talking with a lot
yeah,
of people that are racing for this right now. Like, this is
yeah,
something they want. And,
yeah,
people, they're going to launch a product and it probably won't be
yeah.
ready and someone's going to get rugged. I mean, that's what's going to happen. There's already agents out
I'm
there that are authorized to make transactions on behalf
yeah,
of wallets. So, I mean, this is just statistics. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I mean, it's an
Totally
interesting future,
agree.
and to like figure out for Axel and
Yeah,
any other agentic transactional layer to do it in a way that's provides some amount of trust, like accountability with the agent. I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting problem.
yeah, yeah. I think we fully agree, like high level. I think the thing that we're a little bit more skeptical than most people in the crypto and agent space is the timeline for AI actually moving forward. Like obviously, like if you zoom out of like the crypto world and you look at like Operator, which is OpenAI's
Yeah.
agentic platform, or Perplexity Assistance, like there's still a ton of hallucinations that's going
Oh
on,
yeah.
and a bigger issue on our end is like we just feel like people are not going to trust it because let's say you're doing a big trade like in this case yield, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't think Axel would ever promise that an AI agent would be like able to handle $1 million in an aggressive pool that would like immediately be able to pull out, because like the AI is just really not there. And then
Yeah.
two, like I think when you're talking about like an 80% APY, like these pools aren't that big,
Yeah.
where you're gonna have to
Yeah.
um,
They're a little volatile, just a little bit.
yeah, Oxfun or Barachain, any of these
Yeah.
spots. But yeah, no, I think high level we fully agree. We use the intent solver architecture that like
Mm.
Across and Anoma kind of really pioneered. Like essentially in our perspective, an agent could be, an AI, model,
Mm-hmm.
or down the line, or right now, like if you look at the places where agentic trading is happening in crypto,
Mm-hmm.
it's places like CowSwap, or it's places like Across. It's places where the solvers are just any third party that does something for you.
Mm-hmm.
Down the line, it probably will be AI, but right now it's like, it's market makers for a lot of trading, or even in the case of CowSwap, I think the third biggest solver or agent on CowSwap is a click working farm in the Philippines. So, yeah.
And so, I mean, that makes sense where we're at. I am happy that I mean, that sounds like a rough job, but I'm happy that that's to have agentic trading, be pushed out right now. I think yes, it's too early. The next, so right now, Axel has conservative trading available, and this is all custodial, self custody. So that means all of this logic is smart contract based. I take it. Okay, wonderful. And you are doing the actual conversions and the actual trades and the swaps. How are you going ahead and doing those trades? What layer are
Yeah.
you using?
So I'd love to actually show what the
Yeah, let's
platform
go into
looks
it.
like now. That's cool.
Yeah,
So this is my Axel yield account.
cool.
So,
And
right
if
now
you could
we're,
just make it as big as possible for anyone watching on mobile, that's just
uh, let's see, I'm going to try to zoom in a little.
yeah,
Okay,
that's
I'm going
that's
to
awesome.
zoom
If you
in.
could zoom in, that's perfect.
Cool. Yeah, so I'll zoom in on so this is actually kind of like our biggest thing is just this yield flywheel, or just this wheel rather. I've just heard the word flywheel so much
Yeah.
recently that I'm seeped into my culture. But essentially, just using sliders, you can kind of, distribute how much you want of your portfolio. I have $100 put in right now. Honestly, right now we have balanced and conservative live. So, and also easier than sliders is just writing the number.
Sure.
So you write, like, down the line when all things are live, maybe you're like 60% I want in conservative. I'm going to lock that. Let's do 30% in balanced, and then the rest in aggressive. And I think,
Hmm.
that itself is kind of a strategy. So it's as simple as that. And there you've essentially set your intent, or your like request, right?
Yep.
What you then do is then you just go up here and you click save. Gonna zoom out a little. So the balance strat is password protected, as I mentioned, but in theory, you just press save. At which point, you send that request out, and right now it's mainly just in-house automations, but down the line we're going to have hopefully competitive markets, so other agents, or we're going to have essentially a free market of agents that are competing,
Hmm.
that fill in each one of these different strategies,
Hmm.
um, that go out and like get that for you. And
Cool.
based off, the other thing that's worth mentioning is you could just click on this and you can see what each strategy is like kind of based off of. So
Hmm.
for conservative, we title it battle tested protocols. I mean, the big thing I'd say here is Aave and Morpho are both very liquid protocols that are smart contract based.
Hmm.
So like there's no chance of like, if the pool that you're in, fails or whatever, there is a different pool that you'll get your money from. So like there is
Hmm.
no chance where you're going to like end up not having your money through Aave.
Hmm.
How liquid it is, the size it's at. Now balanced, you get into a little bit more risky. Um, Kind of like, how do you get the yield? We explain that. Try to be very brief, and then we explain Morpho, Gauntlet. These are the two
Hmm.
places that we decided to describe, and these are all in-house automations that we've written ourselves. So
Cool.
I really want to get the bear. The
And
Barachain
yeah,
is
get the
one of,
Barachain. I'm curious where subgraphs are plugging in here, substreams. Do you know where the data you're getting from
yeah,
the
yeah.
graph?
So data is like constantly like underpinning all of this, right? So like
Hmm.
one, you can see, the pools are here, so
Hmm.
that's like part of it. And then also we have a calculator that shows you essentially how much you could earn if you were to like put money into the platform.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think down the line, like, subgraphs are going to be far more involved when we're getting a little bit more, when we're closer to being live.
Cool.
But like high level, this is kind of what the platform looks like.
Awesome. Yeah, I like how honestly simple. I got enough stuff to worry about. So the more simple it is, the bigger of a compliment I like to give the UI UX developers out there. The simple, good. Just that's it. Simple, good.
That's
Simple, good.
kind of what we're hoping for. I mean, like
Yes.
high level, like I think even using Aave and Morpho are a
Yeah.
little like hard to get
Well, I mean,
computed.
they've been around
Yeah.
for, when it needed to be complex. We're heading in a direction where we have subtle things that they didn't have when they started. We have, little things like account abstraction, little things like you are simply able to cross chain is a lot easier
Yeah.
now than it was, just a few
Four or
years
five.
ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, all these little things in the end has a trickle down effect to UI UX where yeah, you don't necessarily have to have a little drop down,
Yeah.
where before you used to, and like, what the hell does this drop down do? And so, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just good on you guys to keep it organized, and also it's a sign of the times, really, which is exciting for me as a old man.
And honestly, I mean, like the real like the way this takes off is like we use the phrase risk-free rate pretty intentionally, largely just because like people in the finance world know what that is. But a crypto risk-free rate is a compelling pitch, but like if it goes from that to like some, you have to go to Morpho and Aave and do all these things,
Yeah,
like it gets to be a little annoying. And that's our whole point is to just make it feel like. Yeah, and also by the way, on the right you can see all the strategies that you're in.
sure.
So everything's always like kind of like available. You can see the strategies that exist on the
Nice,
platform, and then you see the
nice,
ones that you're actually in.
nice.
You can see your performance. So it's
And when you guys are swapping, is that done on Axel or is that done with another smart contract? Is that done? How are you guys doing that?
yeah. I mean, so right now a lot of it happens through like other protocols. So because we are hard coding it ourselves,
Yep.
we're programming it ourselves. So it'll go to back in the day we had this. Our first rendition was called Autopilot.
Okay.
So it was essentially like an index of tokens. Found out that people don't really want indexes of tokens. In crypto, there's two groups. There's people who want to hold tokens and hold them forever, and there are people
Yep.
who want to snipe shitters or whatever. A
Yep.
lot of that was just going through Li-Fi,
Yeah.
So here it's changed a little bit. Some of the execution stuff is a little on the proprietary side, so I would rather not like go super
Totally.
into detail
I
about
have
it.
to ask. I mean, there's developers in the audience, so I'm
Yeah,
sure they're
yeah.
curious about, like, I know what we're seeing, but what's behind it?
I feel like we should do this in a month. Hopefully, we do
Yeah.
this again in a month, and we'll have I'll try to get one of our devs on, and
Yeah.
one, he'll be able to speak more, I think, your guys' language, and then two, I think we'll be a little bit more battle tested in a month,
Sure.
or and if we're not, then we don't deserve to live. That's the startup
Well,
mentality.
I
Uh,
mean, it is a marketplace in the end. So I mean, just the fact that you're getting a single product or a conservative and balanced, I guess two products off the ground with Axel, that's awesome.
yeah,
Are there so there's conservative, balanced, and aggressive? Are there any other? I see points coming soon at the top.
yeah.
What's that here?
So that's just one of the big things on our end right now in our horizon is just getting people to check out the platform. So a
Sure.
lot of like what has worked for other people, like we're very good friends with the Felix team. They bootstrapped 200 million in TVL within
Nice.
2 weeks. That's crazy, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's because there's and you guys definitely know this at the Graph. I mean, there's like the very crypto native, hyperliquid guys who love these things like points and ways to earn airdrops and like essentially kind of maybe that very Web3 spirit of like Gavin Wood way back in the day where it's like the early users should get rewarded because they are the early users.
Yeah. Totally.
So I think that's kind of the thought process with that. Points is coming soon, so don't want to reveal our card for what it actually looks like.
You
The
bet.
thing I will say is if you're watching this and you are interested in learning more about Axel, I'm just at getaxel is our Twitter. I'm at cozy.ai. DM
Gotcha.
us. I can send you the password if you're watching this to check out our balanced
Yeah,
strategy.
yeah. Drop some links in the chat if you could.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Also, if you have your GitHub, if you by chance know that,
Sure, yeah.
your Twitter, anything like that, and also the company's Twitter, Actual's Twitter, all that stuff. Drop that in the Telegram. I'll share that with the chat.
I'm doing it
But
as we
yeah,
speak.
I mean, I'm getting into kind of liquid staking. I'm getting into yield. I've been
How do you view
educating.
yield?
What's up?
How do you view yield? I feel like you actually
So I'm doing ST ETH and just letting that happen, keeping it really simple. I transferred over some of my Ethereum over to that and letting it sit there. I was looking at EigenLayer. I was looking at Lido. I was looking at a few other different options. Now I'm looking, seeing what you guys are doing. right now, also, I'm doing a lot of stuff. I was just telling you on the off stage, I'm doing some stuff around my home, and I'm like, the house is a complete mess. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't be putting more money in crypto right now.
Yeah.
But there will be a day where I go back into looking at other different options and converting. But yeah, I'm getting into more of the yield. I wouldn't call it farming, yield shopping, I'll say. And yeah, there's a lot of different players in the industry. So I think for me, this speaks to me in that it's simple, it's approachable, it's self-custodial, which I want.
Yeah.
All those
The
things connect
aggregator.
with me. What's up?
I think aggregator is a great way to phrase it.
Aggregator, and it uses the graph. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So I mean, that is something that I do personally appreciate. So, but yeah, this is great. I'm curious for you. Do you have any asks for the developers that are watching? Any asks at all? Call to actions, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously we'd love for people to check out, Autopilot Yield. I think it's, or rather Axal Yield. We believe it's going to hopefully be the best place to park your dollar. So
Mhm.
down the line, right now we are, constantly shipping. We're working with, friends at the Graph where, a lot of our issues have actually been related to onboarding. So that's been a struggle for people who are not technical, because this is very much so a consumer facing product, a retail consumer facing product. The phrases we use are very tradfi, so we're trying to bridge some of that community onto this
Yep.
platform. Yeah, so I mean, I'd love, anyway, I'd love if you guys could shred the platform to pieces in terms of advertising, onboarding, how it could get better. I feel like, I'll obviously be able to help out as I can. I can forward any feedback to our devs who are, going to be able to speak your language very well. So yeah, no, I think high level, we'd just love for you to check it out. We'd love to come back on. I think, I'm sure like in a month to 2 months, we're going to be, really ready to go, and it's going to
Cool.
be fully live with the aggressive strat, which I think for a lot more crypto native people, that's the interest. Because like, for most crypto native people, Aave Morpho, they're like, fuck it, I'll just put it in, I'll get
Yeah.
5%. Don't
Yeah.
have to don't have to try this new protocol out at all. I could just, say fuck it, go to what I'm comfortable with, or
Sure.
conversely. So I think there's a lot of demand for the conservative yield. You even brought up like, you said above 40% wouldn't do. Goal is for people to feel comfortable 40 to 60% with some form of like protection or automations.
Yeah, I guess that would be what I'd be interested in, where the second the yield is at risk or the entire exposure is at risk. From there, there's some fail safes, and
Yeah.
to know that there are fail safes where yes, I am aggressive, and also there's some type of protection, that would feel good. That would be nice.
I think that's the selling point for people who are like, very crypto native. It's that
Yeah.
that this exists and this
Yeah.
is some way to protect you from
Yeah,
things going
yeah,
awry.
yeah. I mean, this is a 24/7 market. So, I mean, middle of the night, things go to zero on something, and you don't have any idea about it because you're sleeping. Yeah, that's an uncomfortable place. So, yeah, it's an interesting problem to try to solve. And congrats on getting to the market with balanced and conservative. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do in the next few months. I would love to have you guys back on when you feel like when you got the points and aggressive and all that, ready
Yeah.
to share. So I think in the next, whenever that is, we'll keep in touch on the chat. That would be awesome. So,
Cool.
Cozy, I just want to thank you for hopping in today on Graph Builder's office hours. If chat, I put the Twitter and also Cozy's Twitter in there, and also the GitHub. Go ahead and check all of that out. And if you're watching on Graph Devs or the Graph's Twitter or any other retweets, it's been great seeing you. We are here every Thursday, 5 p.m. UTC, just hanging out with people that are building in the ecosystem. So, Cozy, thanks so much for your time. And everyone, thank you so much for stopping in. Take care, everybody.
Yeah. Take care, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Awesome, man.